So in this session, we'll see about triggers. Okay. Let's imagine if he is a user. If he is a user, and imagine that he is creating one account. Okay. He is creating one Salesforce record. So what happened? Like this, it will commit. There are two stages of database commit. One is like commit, the other one is save. Okay. So you have two different things. One before saving to a database and after saving to a database. Okay. So how it will place? It will be placed as something like before saving action. This is before savings. So here you will get before saving actions. There are different things it will come. Whether this field is required, whether this field have page layout required, all this validation will come before saving only, right? But you have a validation rules in system which will run after saving to database. Yeah. Even before saving also on click of button only, but before it reaches to a database, there will be some validations it will check. Whereas after saving actions, which will successfully commits to a database, and then it will check. Imagine in any of these get a error, data will be rolled back. Okay. It's not something like because this is occurring after save, so this will not roll back. But as soon as one transaction starts, what happens, from here to here is a one single transaction. It might have a different parts, different stages to go, but all this will be considered as a single transaction. If anything fails in the single transaction, everything will roll back. Roll back in the sense it will reset to the previous state. Clear? But in before saving, we have some events. We have some events. What are those events? In triggers, we have before insert. Likewise, we have different events before insert, before update, before delete, before update, before delete. The same way, we also have few things here. Controls. After insert, after update, after delete, and there is a possibility where we can also restore from a recycle bin, which is nothing but undelete. So how many actions we have in Salesforce triggers? We have 7 different types of events. How many types of events we have? 7 different types of. In before, we have before insert, before update, before delete. In after, we have after insert, after update, after delete, after undelete. Okay. In this, there are some data variables available. Let's say these data variables are trigger.new. These data variables are trigger.new, trigger.new map, trigger.work. trigger dot old map. These are the data variables. New means a list of data. New map means a map of ID comma value. Okay. In before insert, we do not have a record ID, so there will be no maps. In before trigger, what happens? Before insert trigger, there are no IDs. So it will only contain only trigger.new. Okay. But because this is a new data, it will also not have a old data. Because this is a new data, it will also not have old data. And if it is a before update, it have everything. It have everything. Because it's an update, right? Update means there will be data existing in a system. It means that record IDs will exist. So it will have both. Update means record is changing. Changing in the sense you should know what is new old data and what is new data, right? You have. But before trigger, it will only have trigger.old. It will only have trigger.old and old map. Because it's a delete trigger, there is no change in the data, isn't it? Yep. Likewise, in after insert, you have trigger.new, trigger.new map. Because after insert, you have a record ID available where you can have a ID comma value, right? After update, it have everything. For update triggers, right, you have everything always. Yep. For delete, only old items. What about after undelete? After undelete also we'll have new map and trigger.new. After undelete means restoring. Restoring means it have its old record ID always in the recycle bin. And it will also old ID in the sense there is no value change, right? For this event, if you are restoring from the recycle bin, system will treat as same as after insert operations. That is how it's a old data, but again the event will be treated as after insert, which will contain only the new information as per the trigger context. Clear? After undelete also, which will be treated as after insert. Clear on this? Any event, exactly. Yep. Which will do your business automations. Okay, if you start creating a record, by entering the details, so what happened? Let's say I entered my name, okay, and user click a button called save. Let's suppose it need to reach down to Salesforce database object, right? Before to that, it need to check validation rule, required fields, right? And workflow rules, process builders, flows. Likewise, we also have a triggers in middle. So what happens? All these are validation rules. all these things should go in a one flow, right? In this flow, there are two types of actions. This is before save actions. I mean, until unless if it before reaching to a database you are doing some validation. After reaching a database you can run another validations, okay, another automations. So here is the same thing. This is your object. Here we are talking about before events. Here we are talking about after events. So let's say before I creating a record, before as soon as I'm trying to create a record, I need to send an email. This is a, you don't want to commit your data, you need to do it before saving to a database. Let's say as soon as once I created an account successfully, then I need to perform my database operations, other database operation, which is after triggers. To get more control of your business, it's a required feature. Okay. So now we can able to classify these operations in Salesforce in a pretty much easy way. Salesforce is providing a switch case statement which released, but we'll see what is the legacy one, the traditional way that Salesforce is following these many years, and we can also see what is a new way that we can write a triggers. Okay. So how to create a trigger? I'm just going SFDX, create Apex trigger, and I'll say account trigger you can see trigger account trigger on S object, right? This S object is nothing but your object API name. For account API name is account because this is a standard object, right? And what are the events we have? Before insert, before delete, after insert, after undelete. So how can I know all these events inside trigger? Because that is also important, right? So we have a conditions in if statements. This is a trigger, right? So we have a trigger class, trigger dot is before. We can see trigger dot is before, right? Likewise, we can also say if, else if, trigger dot is after. So is before, if it is a before event triggers, then it will be true. If it is after event trigger, this will be true, right? Inside, what I can do for insert operation, I'll say if trigger dot is insert, else if trigger dot is update, else if trigger dot is delete. Likewise, we also have after insert case. We also have of trigger dot is delete, is update, is delete, and what else we have? Is undelete. Clear? In before event, we can able to, as soon as this become event, and we should know in before event which event is set. Insert event, update event, or delete event. So we have if condition, it will go, right? Deploy this to SoulSark. I'm just deploying to Salesforce. So technically we don't write any business logic inside trigger. What we do, we write Apex class and then that is called as handler class, and then we'll call that handler class here, okay? So for now, if I want to create my handler class, let me create this Yes, exactly. Create Apex class. I'll say handler. Now this is my class, and we have like a with sharing and without sharing. We can discuss about this with sharing and without sharing later. But now we focus on these things. Let's say public static void before insert. In before insert, what kind of data you will get? Trigger.new, right? It's a list of data. List of what data type is this? Data type will be your object name. Data type will be on what object you written, that will be your data type. Here account. Yep. Whatever the object you have where you are writing your trigger, which is on represents the data type. That's the data type that you will get from trigger. So in this, what I wanted to do, whenever I'm creating a new account, let's go back and we'll see account. If I'm creating a new account, let's say test, and if I say, it is saving, right? What I wanted to do, whenever I'm creating a record from now on, if I create, rating should be required. Okay? Rating should be required. So what I can do, I can also write a validation rule, and we can also write it here. But we'll see what we can do inside a trigger, okay? Because this is a list of data, we need to iterate a list of data, right? For each, and I'll say account, I'll say record, colon, new list is your data, right? Now, if record dot rating equal to null, right? Then I need to add a error. How to add? Record dot add error. I'm just adding two types of error, just give a clarity while seeing it. This is it. Account page level error. Okay. Yeah, this is a method. For record, there is a method inside trigger where you can do. Rating is required while creating new records. Okay. Deploy. Now here you can see there are two types of add error I added. At a account level I added one error, and field level I added one more error, right? So what's the difference that we'll see? How to call? Because this is a before insert, isn't it? Then I'll call. This is a static method. How to call my static method? By its class name and before insert. And we need to pass an argument, isn't it? That argument will be list of account, which is nothing but trigger.new. Trigger.new will be a list of data. Trigger.new map will be a map of ID, comma, object. If I create a new record now, let's say test saving. Rating is required while creating a new record. That's the error message that we added here, right? And you can see this is an account page level error, which we added at a page level. See? At a field level, you can see a error message just next to a field, but a page level, it will show at the top of a page. Clear? So it doesn't really matter how many add errors you need to add. Let's say if you are writing a validation rule, in validation rule, how many error messages that you can able to show? One message. You cannot show the dynamic error message, or you cannot show the values, isn't it? But here I can able to see a different message. Let's say if I want to say please for place space, here also I'll leave some space. I'll say record.name. For test account rating, this type of dynamic error message is not possible in your validation rule. Whenever you need to show a reasonable message, not just a statical message, so the trigger validations are more helpful to show a right message based on the user preferences. If I hit for test account rating is required while creating new records. See, right? I deployed it. For Procodingskills, account rating is required while creating a new records. It's dynamically, it will take up like instead of just hard-coded text, you can able to have more meaningful error messages. But if you want to do this validation rule, then you'll know if you want to do a 3 different validations, then 3 different error messages I need to populate, then I need to write a 3 validation rules. But in trigger, I can able to do from a single place. Clear?